بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. We've been studying the advices of the great Imam Al-Ghazali rahmatullahi alayh over the past few weeks on Wednesdays. And the next section that we're going to read, in it the Imam is emphasizing to us the value of making sacrifice in the hopes of getting close to Allah Ta'ala. And one way that we can do that, one very immediate way that we can do that, is by sacrificing our sleep to pray to God. It is one of the more powerful ways one can connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he mentions an incident in a hadith where a group of companions, they mentioned Abdullah bin Umar radiyallahu anhuma. They mentioned him in front of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we understand that they must have mentioned him in a positive light. Like what a great man Abdullah bin Umar is. Whereupon he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, what an excellent man he is indeed. But if only he prayed at night. If only he prayed at night. This is not the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam necessarily criticizing Abdullah ibn Umar. No, it's highlighting a place of improvement that he could make. And so sometimes when we're thinking about spiritual growth, we're thinking about, if I go for Umrah, we're thinking about if Ramadan rolls around, almost things that are out of our control. If this comes, if I could donate that much money, if I could just take out time every day to travel to the masjid and stay there for 2 hours. The interesting thing about the night prayer is you can always do it. Essentially, wherever you're sleeping, you technically could just get up and pray. It doesn't cost you money. You don't have to be any particular place. Like, you don't even have to go to the masjid. You could literally do it at home. And it's a quick way to show Allah Ta'ala how serious you are about that relationship. And this is important, to think about how we can prove to Allah through our sacrifice what that relationship that we have with Him means to us. Because we want that. We want that from other human beings. We want humans to show us how much they value our relationship. And that's why, people bailing on us last minute on a plan that we make hurts and upsets us. And even has us question the friendship. Because we're like, how could you do that? Right? Does this not mean anything to you, this friendship that we have? That you're able to just go and do something else so casually? And so, recently there was a couple. They've been married for more than 20 years. And they were exploring divorce. And, it's tough. It really is, subhanAllah, in the world that we live in. One of the first things that suffers is our relationships. Because life gets busy. So we work harder. Because we got to put ourselves more into our work. We might really focus on just making ends meet, and no doubt you need to. But if something needs to be sacrificed, a lot of times it's either family or friendships, social life. And then there's consequences to that. All right? So that's why we should never be complacent in our relationships. Let me emphasize that point. We should never be complacent in our relationships. I mean, this is a couple that's been married for 20 years. One would think at this point that you're just kind of like cruising now, right? But no. Long story. One of the main asks of the wife was, I want my husband to take an interest in me. Like, it's so functional that he doesn't take an interest in me anymore. Like, he doesn't show that he wants to know me. He wants to understand my inner world. It's very functional. It's like show up. And no doubt there is a functional component to marriage, undeniably. But people are not usually satisfied with just that. And for him, it was very confusing. He's now been married more than 20 years. To him, life was good. Things were very functional. They had built a life together. They had many kids. So in his eyes, in functionality-wise, things were good. So he was suddenly confused why she was so upset. And he just couldn't understand it. And when she would try to explain to him, and she would convey to him that, look, I want you to feel like you need to invest in this relationship. And he's like, what? What do you mean? We've been married more than 20 years. We invested 20 years. But she's like, no, but I need like daily. And he didn't get it. You know what he said to me? He goes, Shaykh, she wants me to be a 25-year-old young man. I'm like, but that's not how that is. No, but at the end of the day, I get it. Like, maybe you're not used to it. But there's always room for growth. Very interestingly, about a week later, or maybe 2 weeks later, I had someone come visit me. This man is now in his, probably his 50s. And he's making serious changes in his life. Allahu Akbar. And his family's noticing it. Like positive. He's like, Shaykh, I read the book on the 5 love languages. He's like, I'm like, this is over 50 years old. And I said to him, good for you, brother. Good for you. Keep it up. And he's like, I've already started to notice the way they react. And it's motivated him to want to make more change. Right? But the point I'm trying to make from this is that we're not just functional people in life. We're not just people who show up wherever it is, at work, at home, friends, and we're not just functional. Right? You don't go out with friends just to eat food. Because maybe that's what you gather around. It's not what you gather for. Like, we genuinely mean it when we say it's not really about the food, it's the company. And that's because that's an investment in the relationship. I really want to emphasize this point because, like I said, sometimes we take it for granted. When things are running smoothly, functionally speaking, we kind of just sit back and go, we're good. But no, relationships need constant work because weeds arise. And people get surprised. Someone's not happy, but they don't say anything. And then something else arises, they don't say anything. And like this, sometimes months and years pass, and finally they speak up and everything comes out. And the other person is caught off guard. Whoa, what do you mean? I thought things were great. No, things are absolutely terrible. You never said anything. Well, now I am. Right? But to constantly invest is to remind the other person of the value of that relationship. Every day we have a relationship with Allah. And 5 times a day we are proving to Allah how much that relationship means to us. The Prophet ﷺ, he told us in a hadith, he told his cousin Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said, "Ihfadhillaha yahfadhka." Protect Allah and Allah will protect you. That's the literal translation. Ihfadhillah, from hifz. You have hafiz, someone who memorized the Quran. He said, protect Allah and Allah will protect you. We know that literally you can't protect Allah. Allah is al-hafiz. He is the protector. So what does this mean? And so the commentators say, it means protect the commands of Allah. Protect your relationship with Allah and watch how Allah protects you in your life. Because our relationship with Allah is something that has to be protected. Because number one, we have shaitan always trying to corrupt our relationship. And the second, as human beings, we drift away. And that's the fascinating thing about life, is how gradually, without realizing, you slip away from where you want to be. And subhanAllah, sometimes after a long time you awaken and realize, whoa, I didn't realize this is where I am. That can happen with your relationship with Allah. Like weeks pass by, I haven't been to the masjid. Right? Like it just dawns upon you, I have not gone to the masjid. Outside of Jum'ah, hopefully, I have not gone to the masjid. First, it was just like, oh, it's been a few days, I should probably go. But then, you have an excuse, I'm busy. Days, more days, week, 2 weeks. And then you're like, I need to go to the masjid. Same thing with friends, especially as you get older. Social life, right? You start losing. In university, you see your friends every day. Once you graduate, everyone gets into work. How are you going to meet up? Yeah. I think it's especially for brothers, but even for sisters, right? Even for sisters. I'm not even talking about it from a fiqh perspective. For brothers, absolutely. There's a high emphasis on it from a fiqh perspective in terms of the ruling. I'm just talking about, a person wanting to connect to Allah. Do you know what I'm saying? Just because you want to sustain that relationship. Because you realize that there's always a pull from other things in the dunya. Always. Sometimes years. And you realize, wow, I've not made the changes I want to make. And so, but it happens gradually. You don't see it every day. It's just one day you wake up, you have a moment of clarity, you look in the mirror and you go, who have I become? May Allah grant us tawfiq to awaken before something, shakes us awake. And so even in our relationship with Allah, there has to be a constant effort. In life, for most people, one of the few places that they will consistently make an effort to grow is where? What's a common place people attempt to they're not satisfied being where they are. They want to go up. Career and finances. People want to go, and they're checking their bank balance, and they're checking, opportunities to see if I can apply for a higher position, get promotions. What does it take? We're comparing ourselves with other employees to see, wait, how long have they been here? How long have I been here? Am I due for a promotion? For a raise? It's a common thing. And if someone was just there in the same place for years, what would we say? We would kind of be like, either you lack ambition or have you forgotten? But what happens in other aspects of our lives? Where's the ambition? Where's the goals? Where's the daily effort? One of my teachers, he said, if you're still praying the same salah that you were praying when you were like 12 years old, you got something to worry about. When our parents first taught us how to pray, there was this prayer that was super speed. My brother used to call it super speed tarawih. Like you're just flying through it. It's almost, at that point, it's almost like, high intensity interval training, up and down, like, you know what I mean? That's how fast you're praying. And it's interesting because that's how you learn when you're young, and you can't help it because you don't know what you're saying. You don't even know the significance of prayer. You're just doing it because your mom said so. But then, what happens if 15 years later you're still there? That should be a reason for concern. And so what's the plan? To grow. You might say, well, I pray 5 times a day, alhamdulillah. Okay, what's next? One thing is to take out a little bit of time to pray at night. And you might say, but Shaykh, man, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I have work next morning. Exactly. That's why it's so valuable to Allah. You're not spending money. You don't have to be employed for it. You could do this no matter where you are, what's going on, you could do this. The one thing you have to be willing to sacrifice is your sleep. And he told another one of his companions, he said, hey, don't sleep so long at night because it's going to leave you poor on the day of resurrection. The Prophet ﷺ, it's mentioned that he would stand at night until his blessed feet would swell. حتى تورمت أو تفطرت قدماه. How long do you have to stand for your feet to swell? By the way, he was extremely strong and powerful. How long do you have to stand? I mean, there's narrations about how he would recite like 5, 6 juz in one rak'ah. And he would recite it tartil, like really slow. And so hours and hours. And he never sinned in his life. He was sinless, protected from sin. And so the question becomes, why was he doing that? And even his wife asked him, "O Prophet of God, why would you do this when Allah has guaranteed that you will never sin?" See, we often think that we're going to worship only from a place of need. He said, "Afala akunu abdan shakura." Should I not be a grateful servant of Allah? And how much do we not have to be grateful for, guys? How much do we not have to be grateful for? It is so easy. May Allah protect us. It is so easy to fall into ingratitude. This is one of the things I work with my children on. It's so easy for them, right? Because it's like they've internalized this idea that if they just say that they've never had any fun, that I'll feel guilty and I'll be like, okay, let me give you a fun experience. No, and literally today, they had a great time yesterday, right? They got to go a few places, and I know they had a great time. But, one of them was saying, yeah, yesterday was not fun. I was like, but in my head, I'm like, I know you had fun. But now I was like, okay, listen, are you saying that so that I'm going to feel bad and then I'll say, okay, fine, let's do something fun today? Is that the intention? And he was like, yeah. And I said, well, that's not the best way to do it. I said, because if nothing is ever fun, if you tell me every single time it wasn't fun, what happens when I said me and Mama, we give up trying? We say, you know what? There's nothing that'll ever be fun for you, so there's no point trying. And they're like, oh, that's a good point. So I said, you know what? If you're grateful and you say, you know what? Alhamdulillah, like it was actually fun, you admit it. We're not going to sit back and go, okay, you've had your fun, no more fun. No, but we're going to appreciate that you actually value it. And we'll look for another opportunity. And they were like, okay, yeah, yesterday was really fun. Wallahi, yesterday was really fun. I said, yeah, good. But it's so easy to slip into, right? Yeah, like this is wrong in my life. This is not what I want it to be. And subhanAllah, we ruin it for ourselves. The Prophet ﷺ said, shall I not be a grateful servant of Allah? That what caused him and pushed him to wake up at night, sacrifice his sleep, stand before Allah was, Ya Allah, I am so grateful for everything that you've given me. What did Allah give him? The first thing we look at when we're trying to estimate what Allah has given someone is their house. Do you know how big his house was? Anyone ever read anything about it? We know in one narration that when he would go and prostrate, he would need to tap the leg of his wife because she would be sleeping, and she'd have to draw her legs in to make space for him to make sajda. So if you in your room have space for your bed and space for a, prayer rug, that's a bigger room than he had. And that was his house. We're just talking about your room, by the way. Let alone the closet you have just for your clothes. That's a whole nother story. Do you understand? And he's standing up and saying, Ya Allah, I'm so grateful. What's he grateful for? It's a question. What's he grateful for? What do you think he's grateful for? Yeah. Yeah, for the protection from all the sins, definitely. What else? For the Quran that Allah revealed, sure. What else? Absolutely. The opportunity to be able to pray and be in connection with Allah. That is a huge blessing. And that's another thing, right? Is how much do we look forward to it? May Allah grant us tawfiq to get to a point where at least sometimes we look forward to prayer. We look forward to it. You know, my son. I remember when he used to play Minecraft a lot. He doesn't play it that much anymore, but when he used to play it a lot, you can like discover like a new place in the game. Because you're just kind of like, one day you're just kind of like roaming around in, I think it's creative mode or something, not the survival one, the other one. And he'd just be like roaming around, and then he'd find this new place, and he'd be like, oh, wow. But then we'd have to tell him, hey, can you shut it off? It's time to go to sleep. And the way he would just lie there in bed thinking, like, I can't wait for tomorrow where I go to explore that. Like it was just like so exciting to him to go and finally explore that new place again. Like the way it would even affect his sleep. Like the next morning, he would wake up early. He's like, I want to go back and play that game and like go to that place. I was like, wow, subhanallah. Do we ever like sleep looking forward to praying Fajr? May Allah grant me tawfiq and all of us. All right, we go to sleep looking forward to the flight that we have the next morning. You ever seen those really passionate coffee drinkers? Of course, it's not me, but the ones who like say the best thing about going to sleep is knowing in the morning you get take that first sip. Ever heard them? Those crazy ones? Of course, not me, guys. I have no idea what that's like at all. Like I've never thought like that. Okay? Subhanallah. When something is valuable to you, you look forward to it. And that's something to think about. What would be one of the greatest insults to those with whom you have a good relationship? It's like, you know what? I am dreading coming home. Right? Imagine someone said that to you. I am dreading coming home. Oh, excuse me, how could you say that? And the believer's like, oh my God, I got to pray Fajr tomorrow. Right? Ya Allah, I got to stand and meet you. Allahu Akbar. Right? May Allah really grant us the reality of what religion is. Religion is not just a few outward acts. It is us at every moment living in relation to Allah. And that's why in the Quran, Allah speaks about being pleased with His servants and being displeased. Because that's what happens in relationships. Is when the servant does their part, the other person is happy. And when they don't, then they're upset. And we need to shift the way we think about what religiosity means to us. Why do you think the night prayer is so blessed? Why is it so virtuous? Like, what if you stand up like 3:30 p.m.? Allahu Akbar. Like, why is that not the same as 3 a.m.? Neither of them are the 5 prayers, right? This is extra. But why is the middle of the night so valuable? Yeah. Yes, you're sacrificing something that's necessary, and I think a lot of us would argue beloved to us. Not just necessary. We're like, you know what? We enjoy it. Right? We research it. Some of us research it. Research, weighted blankets and there's like this thing that you can like it controls the temperature of your stuff. The way we all collectively know the value of the cold side of the pillow. Right? Like we are passionate about our sleep sometimes, mashallah. We're sacrificing that, absolutely. Especially nowadays, subhanallah. The nights feel so short, right? You can't even sleep early if you even wanted to, because Isha comes in so late, subhanallah. What else? What's another reason why it's so valuable? Yeah, the sincerity involved in it. See, at 3:30 p.m., people walk around the house, they might see you. But 3 a.m., nobody's waking up. They're all sleeping. And if they hear you get up, they think you're going to the washroom. That's what they think, right? They don't know you stood up and you prayed. The sincerity with which you can stand in prayer. And again, at 3:30 p.m., you're probably just stepping away from some task you're busy with. At 3 a.m., you're stepping away from a bed that's warm, right? You're going to the washroom. You're washing up making wudu, and then you're saying Allahu Akbar. Like how beloved that is to Allah. It's said in the advice of Luqman the wise, which he gave to his son the advice. He gave many advices. One of them he said, "Oh my dear son, don't let the rooster be more astute than you, such that it cries during the pre-dawn hours whilst you sleep." SubhanAllah. Gyms open at 5 a.m. A lot of gyms open at 5 a.m. Many are 24 hours, and people go. You ever gone on the highway at like 4:30 a.m.? There's still cars there. People are going places. People are doing things at 4 a.m. SubhanAllah. Because their fitness is important to them. Because work and money is important to them. For how many people can say that no, my relationship with Allah is important to me? And this is something that as we mature, we have to start taking very seriously as we get older. Because life gets busier. It doesn't get less busy. It gets busier. There's more things to do. You feel like it's longer. Your days are longer. People thought university was really tiring. How many of y'all look back, show of hands, and go, university? Man, those were the days. Like life was not stressful. And maybe on sometimes, but honestly, we had a lot of time. How many people would agree with that? And now it feels like, man, like just don't have time. Finish work, got to do this, got to do that, and done. Day's done. Now what? Life gets busier. And if we don't make it an intentional point to step aside and stand before Allah, to show Him how much our relationship with Him means to us, that day will never come. Like, what's the right day to pray tahajjud, guys? What would you say? If not now, if someone says, I'm just too busy right now, Shaykh. Like, you don't understand. My schedule is crazy. I barely get enough sleep already. Now you're saying sacrifice more sleep. Okay, so here's the question. When are you actually going to be free enough to pray tahajjud? When? You know what a lot of us feel? When we get old age, right? When I get old, because we look at our grandparents, we're like, yo, a lot of them, mashallah, pray at nighttime. So we say, well, I'll do that. And what's our argument? Why would we be able to do it in old age? What's the logic that we have? What is it? We'll have time because we'll be retired. So there's nothing else to do. But you know what's really interesting is that, subhanallah, number one, when you get to that age, it's really difficult. It's really difficult due to your age, due to your health. That's one. Number two, if you haven't built the habit, how are you going to do it? You don't just magically get to do it. Those of us who have, elderly parents or grandparents that are in the habit, you see them, mashallah, praying that night prayer, it's almost always because at some level, they built a habit. Okay, let's talk about this then. My teachers used to say this. They would say, you want to know what you're going to do actually with your free time? Look at your holidays. During the weekdays when we have work, let's just concede. Yeah, I need my sleep because I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to be really tired. So I can't pray tahajjud during the week because I got work the next morning. What about like Sunday morning? What about Sunday morning? So like you go to sleep at Saturday night and like you wake up Sunday morning and pray tahajjud. Why not? What's the actual reason why we don't do it? Because when we don't know we have work the next morning, what happens? It becomes super difficult to sleep on time. No? Right? It's like, 11 p.m., no big deal. 12 p.m., no big deal. 2 a.m., no big deal. May Allah give us tawfiq. I have a friend, mashallah, he's really good with this. And may all of us become that friend. Ideally, tahajjud, it's meant to be prayed after you wake up. So you sleep and then you wake up, ideally. But really, anything you pray after Isha is considered from the night prayer. If you stay up all the way till 1 a.m. or even 2 a.m., okay? Let's assume you've prayed at Isha, everything, so now you just sat down. You know that feeling after Isha? You put your feet up and you're like, yo, we're good. Huh? So you've done that. Let's say, you're not about to pray tahajjud, unfortunately, for whatever reason. Okay? So now you turn on a show or whatever you're watching. And it hits like 1:30, 2 a.m. Because tomorrow's Sunday, you don't have work. In the ideal world, you would have said, okay, well, it's, tomorrow's Sunday. Let me sleep early so I can wake up early, get my tahajjud in. But that didn't happen. So instead, you stayed up really late. I have a friend, subhanAllah, like, whenever he gets to that point, he makes sure everyone prays before they go home. Or before you're going to sleep, guys, let's stand up. Let's just get 2 rak'ahs in. We're awake right now. We're probably not going to wake up early before Fajr. Let's do it now. Do you get that? May Allah make us such people that in moments where we're feeling, because there's also a sacrifice there, isn't there? What's the sacrifice in that situation? You're probably only shutting off the show because what? Because you're exhausted at this point. So you're already exhausted, and despite that exhaustion, you say what? I'm not going to go straight to bed. I'm going to get 2 rak'ahs in as part of my night prayer before going to sleep. That's still a way that you can incorporate, right? You can incorporate a small sacrifice and ensure that you pray something at night so as to demonstrate before Allah how valuable our relationship with Him is. Does that make sense? Do you guys get where I'm coming from here? So, some advice here. One way that the scholars say that you can make a habit of praying at night is to control how much you eat. Just in general, overall how much you eat, but especially before going to sleep. Another is to sleep on time. Another that they mention, which is very fascinating, it's what's called the qaylula, the siesta. It's like a nap in the day, right? Now, it's interesting because if you look into the research, there are sleep, researchers who say you shouldn't take a nap. Any of y'all read that? They mention that you shouldn't take naps. And the argument is that it decreases the quality and the depth of your sleep at night. And while I respect that research and I get it, the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ was to sleep, he had a practice of taking a nap. And so with all due respect to Andrew Huberman, good for you, brother. At Stanford, do your thing. But we follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Do you get what I'm saying? And that little nap does help freshen you when you sleep at night and wake up in the morning. You know what's one means of praying tahajjud that we often overlook? It's sin. That sometimes we're deprived of the joy and pleasure in worship because of sin. Al-Hasan al-Basri rahmatullahi alayhi, he said, a person is deprived of divine assistance in praying the night prayer due to a sin that they commit. Sufyan al-Thawri, it's mentioned that he missed the night prayer for 5 months. And he said it was because, he said the reason why he thinks and he understands why he missed the prayer, he said there was he said, I saw some people praying and they were crying. And a thought came to me, man, these people are showing off. And that negative opinion of them, he says, I believe was the reason why I was deprived of praying at night for months on end. Imam al-Ghazali, he says something profound. He said, you know how Allah in the Quran says that prayer prevents you from sinning? He says, similarly, sinning prevents you from prayer. May Allah grant us tawfiq to really prioritize our relationship with Allah and be willing to make sacrifice for that relationship. You know the night before, you ever seen people work out early morning, the night before they put out their clothes and stuff? You ever seen runners? Runners are very particular about this. You know what you want to do? Just download Strava. No, I'm serious. Download Strava, look in your area, and watch people at 4 a.m. run 10Ks. It's crazy. There was a time during COVID where I tried to get into running. Couldn't really do it, but we tried it, you know? So I downloaded Strava. Easiest thing to do, right? Downloaded it, and I used to see, man, every morning. Don't know who the dude is, but a random guy in Cambridge, 4 a.m., 10K. Every day. I was like, bro. You know, and I'm sure he's not waking up, rummaging through his drawers, trying to find some clothes. You know, like probably the night before, lays it all out, right? Puts everything out there, puts everything down, prepares the shoes, you know, everything just ready so that as soon as he wakes up, boom, jump in, go. That's called prep. When something's important to you the night before, you start to prep for it. How many of us prep for Fajr? How many of us prep for Fajr? That tomorrow I want my Fajr to be really beautiful. You know? I remember hearing about a brother. Every time he come for Fajr, he come like decked out. You know, like full dress. People are like, are you going to a wedding? Like, who's getting married after Fajr today? And he'd be like, no, I came to meet Allah. If I go to interviews, I dress up and I'm trying to impress. And Allah is not less important than any person I'm going to take an interview with. So he used to show up at Fajr time like ready. Some of the pious mentioned that they had specific garments that they would wear at night during prayer. Because they genuinely saw prayer as a moment of meeting Allah, standing before Allah and conversing with Him. Right? May Allah grant us tawfiq to reframe the prayer in our lives and the role that it plays in our lives. We'll stop here, inshallah. We'll continue with the next part next week, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.